The following program does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the staff, management, or ownership of this station.
The following pre-recorded program is brought to you by Vertuvian, a Texas-based registered investment advisor.
Now, let the uprising begin.
There are only two genders, and one of them is right here. It's the box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Hello. Once again, all my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there, you're listening to the Angela Box Show. There's something new happening. Stephen and I were like piddling around with my phone and this microphone, all these shenanigans. If you're watching live, you can see that I'm doing video, which has kind of always been my hope for this show, to kind of do a Rush Limbaugh ditto cam setup. And I'm just going to warn you straight up, like, I'm not going to look into the camera. It throws me off. I'm not going to do it. So if you're watching and you're like, why doesn't she look at the camera? Rude. I'm like, because I don't want to. It throws me off. And by the way, I'm sitting in a fart chair. This chair today is making all sorts of noises. So if you hear something go, it's the chair. I assure you, it's the chair.
Sure, Angela.
Yeah. You're like, sure, Jan. Sure. Before we jump into everything, and I know you're dying to know what's happening in the Karen Reed trial this week. I have thoughts. I want to give a shout out, first of all, to my husband's company, the sponsor of the show, Vertuvian. Vertuvian.com. This man, I'm telling you right now, the market has been so shenanigans, as you all know, since the tariff announcements happened. And he's able to navigate very choppy waters, even when it's crazy. So if you want some really great financial advice, it's Vertuvian, spelled VirtueVian.com. Also, I want to give a shout out. He got his haircut yesterday. I was like, honey, you need a haircut. He goes, I'm liking it like this. I'm like, it's getting a little scraggly. You could use some shaping. And he's so good looking that I'm like, I just, sometimes men look really good with long hair, and sometimes it's like, you need a haircut. So he goes up to the boardroom, which is kind of the male version of what would you say the boardroom's the male version of? I guess it's like an elevated supercuts. It's for men. Anyway, he goes in there, and he wanted me to give a shout out to Danielle and Trone of Boardroom in Uptown Park. So shout out to Boardroom. Thanks for cutting my boo's hair so pretty. All right, let's get into the show. I'm giving the Sea-Turtle Killing Plastic Straw. I sometimes forget to do that. And honestly, now that Trump's here, we don't really have to worry about the government coming after our straws anymore, which is nice. But I'm going to give it anyway. Y'all, the defense started this week in the Karen Reed trial. Let me just say this. I did not watch the first trial, okay? I did not have it on my radar. In fact, when I heard of it, I heard of it when it was going on a little, and I'm like, this doesn't sound interesting to me. Like, what's the deal? The guy's in the snow, like, she did it, like, why is this the thing? And now that I'm into it because of the documentary A Body in the Snow, and I'm going to go back and watch the 2020 and the Datelines, because this woman's stories are wild, and they just go all over the place. And she's changed her story and, all the things. Anyway, now that I'm paying attention to it, I'm going back and watching the first trial. And I've been watching some direct examination of witnesses like a lady named Jen McCabe, Carrie Roberts, Chris Albert, Nicole Albert, people like that the defense wants you to believe all got together and framed Karen Reed for some reason. I mean, they're just like, we're just so jealous. She's just beautiful. She's a stunning and beautiful alcoholic, Stephen. And we're going to frame her just because, John walked in and this guy Brian Higgins just beat the crap out of him because he found out that Brian Higgins was texting with his lady friend. And it's like, okay, this is the problem with the whole thing, okay? First of all, Karen Reed ain't hot, all right? She's all right looking. But the fact that her defense is like, look at this beautiful lady over here. I'm like, well, first of all, you and your attorney are banging. Like, you cannot convince me otherwise. Karen Reed either has banged or is currently banging this one attorney named Alan Jackson, who has an extraordinary level of lady-level Botox, okay? Now, as someone who likes her Botox, and I do my own Botox, which is crazy. I know you're like, what? Yeah, you can find all kinds of things on the web. Go like Google South Korean injectables. You can do all and as long as you know the map of the face, you can do your own Botox. It's not a big deal. But this guy, man, he like seriously, like he doesn't have any 11s. He has no lines in his forehead. Like it's just bizarre. And between him and this other attorney, Robert Obese, who has an unfortunate case of boot polish hair. Ooh. I'm sitting in Houston, Texas watching this thing. I'm like, boot polish, I can spot it a mile away. Between these two attorneys trying to shill for this in denial alcoholic narcissist Karen Reed, it's really something. So I'm watching the first trial, and I'm like, okay, the second trial, these attorneys who have got some level of notoriety now, especially with her little cult, and they call themselves the FKR, Free Karen Reed. I'm like, or F Karen Reed, take your pick. But the FKR people, like, this is a special kind of cult, you guys. And evidently, what's wild is that it's roped in a bunch of MAGA people too, which I find very strange because MAGA types are generally not anti-police and things like that. But again, the level of mental gymnastics that one must go through in order to think Karen Reed is innocent, because there's this grand conspiracy that ropes into like 50 to 100 different people, including inanimate objects like a Sally Port camera and John's sneaker, like dumb. It's quite the stretch. So I'm watching the first trial and listening to her attorneys cross-examine these witnesses is shocking. It's shocking. The level of contempt, the level of aggression, the level of hatefulness that her attorneys, Alan Jackson and Robert Obese in particular, give to these just witnesses. Like, they're just witnesses that this lady, the drunk, narcissist, alcoholic, in denial alcoholic lady, Karen Reed, called at 5 a.m. screaming, "John's dead! Carrie, Jen," all this stuff. They're just witnesses. They're just witnesses. And the way her attorneys are cross-examining them, it's like you would think that they took out a machete and chopped John to bits and then dumped him in the yard. Like, that's how crazy it is. And so I am enjoying watching the first trial because it's giving a flavor to what the FKR is all about. Like, the FKR people who all wear pink and they all sit out and like in front of the courthouse, like give up their vacation time to travel to Boston and sit outside the courthouse to shill for this in denial alcoholic narcissist who could not give two rats red A's about them, but yet they're wasting all their time supporting this lady. It's wild to me. Now, the defense this week started their case, and it is not good. It is not going well for them. They had a lady on earlier this week, a dog bite expert. Even though she's not a dog bite expert, she's just like a doctor who has an interest in dog bites. And so she's like inserted herself into this case. She reached out to one of the attorney's wives, Alan Jackson's wife, frankly, a DA in LA. She's like, "Hey, I know something about this. Those marks on his arm those are dog bites." And they're like, "Come on, let's insert you into the trial." It's not going well for the FKR, and I hope this time this lady goes down in flames, because that's what she deserves. All right, you're listening to the Angela Box Show. We'll be right back.
There are only two genders, and one of them is right here. It's the box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
All right, another day, another Islamic terror attack. What, y'all, the Free Palestine people, it's like the Free Palestine has now become the new Allahu Akbar. Has it not? Okay? Because we've had 2 weeks in a row now of two very severe pro-Palestine, pro-Gaza lunatic firebomb attacks against Jews or against Israel supporters. Last week it was a lovely couple that got murdered by some illegal. I don't think was he illegal? Was the guy last week illegal? Elias Rodriguez. I know he came from Chicago. I don't know. But this week, ladies and gentlemen, the guy, Mohammed Yabadabadu, whatever his name is, doesn't matter. He's going to jail for the rest of his life. And, huzzah and huzzah, his family's all getting deported. That's happening. This guy was an illegal alien. Living in Colorado, of course, Natch, because Colorado's a sanctuary state. And they're like, are you an illegal alien Islamic fundamentalist? Like, let's open the doors for you. We love y'all here. So anyway, this guy was Muhammad, whatever, the shirtless freak, had some Molotov cocktails, and he threw it into the crowd, into a Boulder, Colorado vigil or a protest or a gathering of people that were wanting the release of the final hostages, the Israeli hostages in Gaza. And you know what's interesting is that the media, people on the right are talking about this, but the media is like cricket city. Good luck trying to find this story. Let me tell you something. If someone wearing a MAGA hat threw a Molotov cocktail into a crowd of a BM crowd, let's say, if they're, doing some assembling or peaceful protesting, fiery but mostly peaceful protesting of a George Floyd anniversary or whatever, like St. George Floyd fentanyl, and they all got together and like, let's remember this wonderful man. If there was a MAGA type that was throwing Molotov cocktails into the crowd, I suspect we never hear the end of it, okay? Anyway, the media is not talking about it for obvious reasons. But the media is 100% to blame. What's disgusting is that I always get the New York Times and Newsweeks. I need to get Washington Post and LA Times too, their bulletins, but there's only so much vomit I can stand in the morning. New York Times headline about this, the morning after this happened, so Monday morning, the headline said, quote, an attack in Colorado. That's it. An attack in Colorado. Again, if there was some MAGA firebombing Molotov cocktail person throwing Molotov cocktails into the crowd of BM and Antifa, like, we would have known that. But because it wasn't, they were like, let's not really talk about this. But the media is 100% to blame for this. And Mike Huckabee, the ambassador to Israel, called them out last week because, once again, they're lying about what Israel is doing. Israel got attacked on October 7th. Israel was responding to that attack on October 7th and finally putting their foot down against these Hamas-loving, quote, peaceful Palestinians who are all inbred, by the way. Stephen, did you know that, like, the inbreeding in Gaza and Palestine with the Palestinians is just, like, through the roof? Like, yeah, there's a lot of inbreeding. Go figure. Probably a bunch of FKR people that also support, the Free Palestine movement. But I digress. If you're one of these conservatives that shills for Free Palestine, like, shuffle along. Okay, I'm not interested in talking to you. But anyway, here's the point. The media is carrying the water for these people, and they do so over and over and over again. And something super egregious that Mike Huckabee was responding to, there was an aid delivery of humanitarian aid that was being delivered to the Palestinians last week, and the media all reported that Israel, like, opened fire onto the civilians getting the aid, which was 100% false. 100% fake news. In fact, it was Hamas opening fire on their own people in order to get the propaganda news networks to jump all over this, as they always do. So, of course, they're just like, we're sorry, but not really. They're not sorry. They're not sorry. So when attacks like this happen 2 weeks in a row now, the media's 100% responsible for this. They may not have pulled the trigger. They may not have thrown the Molotov cocktail, but their rhetoric about Israel, is doing in order to defend itself against lunatic Islamists who want to see them wiped off the face of the earth, they have 100% to blame in this. And I'm sick of these people. Speaking of people that are ridiculous, Jamie Raskin, a self-hating Jew if there ever was one, him and Chuck Schumer, it's like, why don't you just go over there and fight for Hamas already? Like, you guys are a joke. Jamie Raskin, Representative Raskin, goes out there and he's like, yeah, on the attack in Colorado, not the attack by Elias Rodriguez. Did we find out if he's illegal?
I looked. And
he's not. No, so he's not.
Mentioned, but
yeah.
If he was,
yeah. He's out of Chicago. He used a gun. But this guy, Mohammed Yabadabadu, whatever his name is, doesn't matter. Who cares? He's going to be deported along with his family. This Mohammed guy used a Molotov cocktail, which last time I checked doesn't have bullets in it. Fun fact, so this is what Jamie Raskin said. Jamie Raskin said, quote, again, Molotov cocktail, quote, our gun laws are a danger to everybody in America. Well, especially to Jews walking out of the Holocaust Museum that are just, hanging out, I guess. But this guy, Mohammed Yabadabadu, whatever his name is, doesn't matter. He's getting deported. This guy, because he's an illegal alien, fun fact, overstayed his visa, brought in by Joe Biden. Joe Biden realizes this guy's an illegal and then his whole family, turban-clad, hijab-clad women in his family who have to walk 10 paces behind the men, because of course they do. They all get to go to public schools. They all get to go to university. And as I mentioned, the family is now in the process of being deported. But this guy, Muhammad, tried to get a gun legally, couldn't get a gun because he's an illegal alien. And our background checks works. You know the background checks that the left always claims doesn't exist, that everybody who's ever bought a gun has had to go through a background check to get a gun, and literally nobody on the right would have a problem with that? Like, nobody. Anyway, Jamie Raskin's a dummy, and he said that our gun laws are a problem because of a illegal alien Islamist who firebombed a crowd. 12 people are injured. 1 has died. One of them they described covered in flames. I'm sorry, if I'm covered in flames, I would rather be dead. I cannot even imagine a more horrible way to be murdered than to be set on fire. Like, is there a worse way? I remember when I first met Fred, my husband, I said to him, because I have murder porn on my brain all the time. So I was like, what is the worst, if you had to be murdered, like, how would you go? And I'm like, for me personally, guillotine, quick, off with your head. Sword, cut off your head, like something like that. He's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, how long do you have? Anyway, let's get on to some other stuff because there's more. The media, again, carrying the water for these Islamists is very similar to what James Comey was doing a couple weeks ago when he just, what's this? It's a natural seashell formation on the shore here. It's like even the ocean hates Donald Trump, evidently, with his 86-47 stunt that he did. He's not going to go out and, quote, unalive Donald Trump, but he wants the other lunatics to do it. He wants the leftists that in Butler, Pennsylvania, or in Florida, or whoever else is threatening Donald Trump at any given second. And Kash Patel is like, thanks to James Comey's little stunt, there have been an uptick of assassination threats against Trump. Is anyone surprised? No. This is what they want. This is what they want. This is how panicked they are. But here's something that this is maybe why James Comey was putting seashells on the shore in McLean, Virginia, saying 8647. Here we go. The FBI and Mueller's team hid Russiagate documents with special coding in FBI case management database. Everyone's like, have you heard about this story? No, not unless you're on the right and you're on X or you're reading Gateway Pundit. This is from Gateway Pundit. So a lot of us going back in time understood that there's some coding that the FBI would do or whomever to hide certain details. For example, if you're doing a FOIA request and you're, trying to find out documents with James Comey, what they would do is they would hide those documents by writing Comey, C-O-M-E-Y, as C-O-R-N-E-Y, because it would look like Comey to the naked eye, but in reality it was corny. So we knew that they were doing this. And now that we know also that the 7th floor was hiding Russiagate documents with special coding, let me read this a little bit to y'all. The FBI and Mueller's team hid Russiagate documents with a special coding in the FBI's case management database. Senior DOJ officials reportedly did not know that FBI agents and members of Special Counsel Robert Mueller, you know, that guy, the registered Republican, his team used a, quote, prohibited access code to make Russian collusion documents invisible. This way, Mueller's dirty Democrat lawyers could hide exculpatory evidence Recall that General Flynn was forced into a, quote, guilty plea of one count of false statements after partisan prosecutors tricked him and withheld Brady material. This is from the Federalist. People familiar with the investigation into the Russia collusion hoax told the Federalist that senior officials did not know the FBI case management database, Sentinel, allowed agents to conceal the existence of evidence, nor did anyone from Special Counsel Robert Mueller's office mention that documents related to the investigation into the Trump campaign had been rendered invisible by use of the, quote, prohibited access coding in Sentinel, even though they knew the DOJ was investigating the origins and handling of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. So if you wonder why none of this has come to light yet, I would imagine that there are a whole lot of things being hidden in secret, in trying to disappear certain documents, certain whatever. Y'all, I don't know if Trump's going to have enough time to get rid of all, even make a dent in the swamp, okay? I don't know. I guess it's enough to know that he's trying. I guess it's enough to know that there are good people on this, and maybe the quiet and the silence we are seeing is just the calm before the storm. I hope so. All right, you're listening to The Angela Buck Show. I'll be right back.
Infuriating the far left, Democrats, socialists, and communists. It's Angela Box on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
By the way, next week, if you're watching the video feed, next week, we're going to have all the audio fixed. We're going to have if you're listening, you're like, it's fine. We have this whole plan that we're going to feeding the audio in. It's going to be super cool. It's going to be neat. So next week, we're going to have that whole thing fixed. I promise. Okay, before we jump on to some other stuff, I have to get back to Yabba Dabba Doo, Muhammad Yabba Dabba Doo, dude, and how the media is not talking about it, because obviously they would have to admit that this guy who came in illegally under Joe Biden, and I got off on a tangent and I forgot to mention, he got a work permit by Joe Biden too. So illegal alien gets to work here, and his daughter gets to go to college, and now they're all being deported, which I think is delicious. Anyway, the reason the media is not talking about this, obviously, is because this guy has Muslim Brotherhood ties, just like so many of the Democrats do, weirdly, like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Barack Obama, the first black president. They're all they're going to have some problems with this one, I think. But one more kind of Israel-related thing. There is a hostage that just got released, and he looks, thank God he looks okay. Listen to this, you guys. If there's if you have any doubt of who the Free Palestine people are, and look, if you're a conservative and you're like, I don't like all this, money going to Israel, I don't like all this. Look, here's the deal, guys. I don't know. I've never understood the Israel hate. I don't get it. This is a tiny country, a democracy in the middle of a psychotic area of a bunch of Muslims that want to kill them, okay? That do not think they have the right to exist. They want to wipe them off planet Earth. So if America can somehow help them not being destroyed, I've never understood the hate. But anyway, this Israeli hostage who was released revealed that his Hamas captors' behavior changed immediately after Trump was elected. Okay? Immediately they were spitting on him before, and they were following the American election very closely. And they wanted Senator Kneepads to win. They're like, that is a political whore we can get behind. Okay? A literal and a political whore we can get behind. Of course, we would throw her off a roof or veil her until she was not such a strumpet, but other than that, they loved them some Kamala Harris. And the minute Trump got elected, they were like, ruh-roh. They started feeding him. They stopped spitting on him. They stopped beating him. I mean, it's like, yeah, Free Palestine. Anyway, let's talk about some other stuff. Lots of funny things going on in the culture. Well, I shouldn't say funny. I'm going to save the culture, the funny stuff for the fourth segment, and there's 3 really funny stories that I want to talk about. But in this segment, it is June. It is the most sacred month of the year. I do not mean the month that our Christ our Lord was born, or Christ our Lord rose from the dead. I mean, of course, it is Pride Month. And for the last few years, we have all been subjected to a lot of rainbow barfing, a lot of grooming, a lot of nonsense. And as someone, I'm not gay, but I do know gay people who are sick of this crap too. And normal gay people are not down for the grooming of children. They're not down for any of the rainbow mafia just turning everyone's lives upside down for an entire month. Anyway, it's not landing the way it used to, I don't think. I mean, someone said on X, they're like, Pride Month is hitting different this month. And if you go around, like, I'm always curious to see what different multinational corporations are doing. Target was one of the biggest offenders of Pride. Target a couple years ago, I want to say it was maybe 2023, 2022, you know, that time where they were really feeling themselves. They were like, we've got the world locked down. We've got the kids completely brainwashed. Remember how they would be like, the Department of Education is like, you know, what do you mean grooming? I mean, it's a coincidence that 25% of Gen Z is like identifying as LGBTQ. I mean, that's just a coincidence. When normally when you and I grew up, it was like 3 to 5% of people were gay, right? 3 to 5%. Like, that's it. Go back to the Kinsey report, okay? In the Kinsey report, if you don't know what the Kinsey report is, Kinsey was a psychologist. He did this big survey of all kinds of American sexual habits and things like that. And it was shown that, you know, maybe 8%, but more like 3 to 5%. And that's just because that's how it is. And I look back at my high school class. We had a class of 147, so small class, but like 8 or 9 ended up being gay. And I was doing the math, and I'm like, math is hard, but I'm pretty sure that's like 5 to 8%. Anyway, that's what it is. And the media want us to think that this is just some sort of organic thing, that, you know, all these kids are like, I don't think I'm the right gender anymore. Okay. But Target was one of the worst offenders. A couple years ago, people were going through, and they're like, what in the AF is going on in Target? Like, they had like a satanic clothing designer that was pushing clothing at kids with the pride crap and the transgendering crap, and all. People were like, stop it. And so this year, I went on Target's website, and I went on their Instagram earlier. I haven't gone on their X, but I'm assuming it's the same. And there's not a rainbow to be found, ladies and gentlemen. I was like, what? Like, they're being real quiet about it. But I did go into Sephora yesterday or the other day. And Sephora, because, you know, it's Sephora, and they have men there and makeup and selling you makeup and stuff and whatever. And a lot of them still wear masks, too, which is like, well, you know, that tracks. There's a Sephora banner that says, we're celebrating Pride, but it's small. It's small, you guys. It's there, but it's not like overwhelming. There's no rainbow crap. It's just one little sign. So they're giving lip service to it because they're like, they don't want the rainbow mafia coming after them because they've been, you know, out and proud so much in the last few years. But it's much more subdued. It's like everybody seems to be kind of slowly backing away and being like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be shoving this down everyone's throats. And it's a matter of, it's like I said with the COVID shots. You're doing too much. Okay? You're doing too much, and people are suspicious of other people that are doing too much. And that's where they went off track, okay? So Target is not barfing this. The usual suspects aren't really barfing it. Now, I will say this. The NFL, weirdly enough, because it's run by Roger Goodell, and Roger Goodell, I don't know what happened to that man. I do not understand what happened to him, but he didn't used to be woke. He used to be normal. But around the time of BM and Colin Kaepernick and his 12-foot afro and the taking a knee and all that, he went off the rails. And so this year, the Pride celebration at the NFL is still going strong. And evidently it's the same number of teams that are virtue signaling about, so much pride. Because, you know who watches football is a bunch of gay people, is a bunch of rainbow people. They're like, yes, queen, it's time for the Steelers to play this week. Let me put on my Steelers gear and just go sashay around. Like, no, that's not their target audience. Again, you would think that at some point they would realize that they're turning away their target audience, but I guess they think that there's enough time passed between the outrage of what they were doing during BM and all that stuff. Like, they're like, okay, we can just kind of quietly virtue signal about it, but like.
Hey, athletic men in tights might attract more of that crowd.
Oh, Steve has a good point. He said athletic men in tights might attract a certain crowd. Well, I suppose. But speaking of Pride Month, okay, California, there's a few leftist states that are not following the law, and they are still allowing boys to compete against girls. And California's been quite a what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of the word. They're still doing it, is the point. There's a trans athlete. I don't know what his name is. Ab Garcia. It doesn't matter. He's a boy who has listen. This is a boy who just won the girls' track meet in Clovis, California. Can you imagine if you're a parent of a girl, or if you're a girl who's trained an entire year and you have to go and you're like, oh, here we go, a biological male winning everything. And this little twink, this little theater geek, for lack of a better word, he's like, I'm a girl. I mean, I'm going to tuck it in and I'm going to put on like some Phantom of the Opera makeup, like some heavy theater makeup, because he knows he's going to be photographed. He's like got white, his foundation is too light for his skin, and he's wearing like, I mean, he looks like a cross. This kid looks like a cross between like a bad mime in San Francisco and like, again, every theater geek you've ever seen in your life. Like, and he's just like, I won. And again, if I was a girl, and the girls that are taking pictures with him do not seem pleased, do not seem happy to have to take a picture. So now Harmeet Dillon, who's head of Civil Rights Division at the DOJ, she put out on X the other day, she was like, oh, coming soon, all of you states who still let boys compete with girls, you're going to be fined. You're going to have your funding cut. Like, enjoy it while you can. Explain to me why this is the hill. Again, why is this the hill on which you are dying, leftists? Please explain this to me. Because it's, parents of these girls that have trained all year get beaten by a biological boy. It doesn't matter if, like, it's a little fey twink. He's still a biological male. He's still gonna win. Disgusting. Anyway, I've got some funny stories for you in the fourth segment. Some more culture stuff. You're listening to the Box Show. We'll be right back.
You've tuned into the right place for conservatism. It's the Box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Before I get to the culture stuff, a couple more things. I realized something. I have a loyal listener. His name's Tim. He emails me a bunch, and we talk about shows that we're watching, and he was like, Angela, you didn't give me anything to watch last week. So I started watching Banshee, okay? Fred and I started watching Banshee. And listen, as y'all know, I look at the IMDb. I'm like, listen, if Fred starts watching something, I'm like, let me go look this up. Like, for example, yesterday he started watching this movie called Silk Road, which looked good in theory. But I looked at it, I was like, no, 6.0, absolutely not. And he stopped watching it in a second. He was like, yeah, it's dumb. Anyway, I looked on IMDb about Banshee. Banshee is the same creators of as Your Friends and Neighbors, which we finished. It was really, really good. And I was like, okay, I'm into it. It's got an 8.5 or something crazy. So we start watching it, and I'm like, and I feel like I was having confirmation bias a little because I'm watching it. I'm like, there's a lot of nudity in here. Like, guys, if you want to see, like, I feel like this director told the actresses, like, listen, you're going to get a lead in a series, and it could run for several seasons. However, you're going to have to be, like, naked, like, showing everything. Like, every woman in this show has to get naked at some point. I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not just talking about the top either. So, boys, I guess, go check it out. Anyway, it's not good. Like, the fight scenes are over dramatized. It's like I have to suspend too much disbelief. And so after the first season, Fred's like, do we want to keep going with this? I was like, honestly, no. And I said, am I crazy, or is this not good? And so I go back and I look on IMDb and I look at like the 6 ratings, 6 and the 5s. I was like, yes, okay. I don't understand how this thing is so highly rated. So we stopped watching it and we started watching Mad Men again, which Fred has never seen. Fred was an advertising major like I was randomly. And what's wild is, like, when we first met, we both realized that we had done the same advertising competition in college. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, he went to SMU. I graduated from a school in Oklahoma City called OCU. And we both did this thing called AAF, which is American Advertising Federation, and it was like a competition. And so we didn't compete against each other, but both of our schools, like, got runner-up the years we did it. And it was wild. I was like, I've never met anybody that has done AAF. Anyway, the point is when Mad Men came out initially, I was so excited because I love good advertising. Like, I love it. And it's such a great show. Fred is slow to get into it. Like, I wish he would be more into it, but I think in time he will be. It's so good. I mean, I haven't seen it since it came out. It is, and it's just phenomenal. It's a phenomenal show. So that's it. That's all I have to recommend to you, Tim. Sorry. But Banshee, just abort. It's not for me. Okay. You guys, this past week, there was a really funny Washington Post headline. Kind of like the New York Times article, or the headline of an attack in Colorado. What's this? This Washington Post headline. I would have respect for them if they would just admit they were wrong, like one single time for 30 seconds. Here's the headline. The mysterious drop in fentanyl seizures on the U.S.-Mexico border. What? With a straight face. They're like, I don't know how this happened. How could this be? Why is this happening? How is fentanyl down all of a sudden? Oh, I don't know, because Trump's securing the border and prosecuting these people, like, to the fullest extent of the law and treating them like the narco-terrorists that they are. Like, stop being so... Listen to the thing. They're not stupid. The media is not stupid. I mean, they're dumb they're dumb in the way that I say that they're dumb. Dumb and arrogant in the way that they just think that they're right, and they think they're smarter than you and they're better than you, and dumb and arrogant is a dangerous combination. And that is Exhibit A as to what I mean by that. That is the stupidest headline. It's as stupid as the headline of an attack in Colorado. Anyway, let's talk about some funny stuff, because there was some interesting stories this past week. St. Greta of Thunberg is back, you guys. St. Greta she's been itching for some fame. She's missing that spotlight, that limelight where she, can talk about climate change and how the weather is going to kill you. And by the weather, I mean just, day to day going through your life. The sun, it's just gonna burn us all up like little ants under a magnifying glass. St. Greta is kind of off that now. And you know what she's into now, Stephen? Why don't you take a wild guess? Just spitball it.
Gotta be Palestine.
Correct. She is a free Palestinian person. Free Palestine. She's like, I'm going to go over to Gaza and say, how dare you? How dare you allow Hamas to be killed? Like, this is the level of dumb we're dealing with. So she's over there, and, I'm sure she's going to have, like, lots of security and lots of people funding this, but this little Asperger's child needs to find a real job. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, here's something else that's really funny. You guys, Michelle Obama. Oh, Babylon Bee, Steven just showed this to me. Oh, find it again. Oh, okay, it says Hamas, it's going back. I can't find it. I can't find it again. And I'll read it real quick. It was a funny Babylon Bee. Babylon column B is what The Onion used to be. The Onion used to be so funny, and I learned about The Onion after 9/11, and the headline that got them, like, on the map crazy, the headline was something like, 9/11 terrorists surprised to find themselves in hell. And the article about it was so funny. Okay, Hamas agrees to surrender if Europe will take Greta Thunberg back. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's like, please take this little heifer back. Where's this Michelle Obama story I wanted to find? Oh, I know what it was. Here. Oh, this is good. Michelle Obama has a podcast. It's called IMO. And in this podcast, she wears her hair in, like, cornrows and braids because, you know, she's like, now I get to wear my hair the way I want it. You know, they made me keep it short when I was in the White House. And, you know, I was so oppressed. I couldn't be my black, beautiful female self. So she does this podcast with her brother, who may or may not be really afraid of her and also may or may not be closeted. But he's like, he's the ultimate yes man. Michelle Obama comes out last week, and she said in her podcast that raising some serious eyebrows. This is a very strange thing to say from a woman who allegedly gave birth twice. She said that basically that giving birth is the least of what a woman's reproductive system can do. I'm like, well, isn't that the whole point of a woman's reproductive system? To give life to other human beings? Now, those of us in the rabbit hole community, those of us in the Big Mike community, look, I will stipulate, I don't think Michelle Obama's a man. I don't. I've seen pictures of her as a little girl. I don't think it goes that deep. However, I'm not sure she gave birth to those kids, okay? Because to this day, we have never seen pictures of Michelle Obama pregnant. Not once. And there have been AI-generated pictures where dumb leftists are like, see, Michelle Obama is pregnant. I'm like, that's like, she has 4 fingers in this picture. Like, stop trying to invent things that don't exist. Anyway, she's saying this got people thinking and starting to go, okay, well, let's talk about these people that a lot of people in the rabbit hole community think might be the actual parents of Malia and Sasha Obama. It is I think their names are Evelyn and Martin Nesbitt or something like that. I believe they're a married couple. They either are or were head of the Obama Foundation. And when you look at these people side by side next to Sasha and Malia, it's like, you are the father. You are the mother. Like, it's crazy. See, unless you see the Nesbitts and you see the girls next to the Obamas, you're like, okay, you know, you don't even think anything of it. But when you put a picture of grown Sasha and Malia next to a picture of these two people, it is interesting. It's sort of like, look, Michelle Obama's a narcissist, right? And a malignant one at that. Just like another one of my favorites, Meghan Markle. If Meghan Markle had actually given birth, just like if Michelle Obama had actually given birth, we would have never heard the end of it. We would have heard how awful it was, how long she was in labor, how much she suffered in order to bring life into this world. And so for her to, like, say that giving life and giving birth is the least of what a woman does is a very, very strange thing to say, I think. One more story in honor of Pride Week. Oh, darn it. I didn't get to this, but I'm going to do it really, really quick. The Democrats think, I forget Harvey Milk. I forget that. Harvey Milk, the ship is being decommissioned. Hello and holla. But the last story I want to get to, Olivia Giuliana. If you don't know who this is, she is a morbidly obese Democrat influencer. I think she's in San Antonio. They have tapped this woman who is very, very pro-abortion, who will never, ever be in the position to have an abortion. Not anytime soon, anyway. They have tapped this morbidly obese Gen Z girl to bring men back to the Democrat Party. I'm like, who wants to tell her? Who wants to tell her? The Democrats seem to think that people are still down with the body positivity movement. They still seem to think that we're all as delusional as they are, that we want fat mannequins and we want morbidly obese women to complain about men. Listen, Democrats, you're in heap big of trouble, but by all means, send David Hogg, send Olivia Giuliana to the rescue. If this is your solution, Godspeed. All right, that's my time, everybody. Until next time, keep kicking ass and taking names. Peace!